Today on the Plant-Based Bistro, let's make a Seitan-based meatball sub. As with any seitan recipe, we need a bunch of ingredients. So, Derica, what do we need?
As this is seitan, we're going to start with half a cup vital wheat gluten, 2 tablespoons nutritional yeast, 1 teaspoon onion powder, 2 teaspoons garlic powder, because we like it garlicky, 1 teaspoon oregano, 1 teaspoon thyme, because you can never have too much thyme, a half teaspoon red pepper flake, because this is going to be a spicy meatball.
Oh boy, she went there.
And freshly ground black pepper.
How much?
About a half teaspoon or so. Also for color, 2 teaspoons of beetroot powder. And now we're going to mix so that it's well blended.
Yeah, this time I'm actually going to be doing the dry and the wet separately for reasons. Okay, there's our dry. Let me set that to the side for a moment.
We're starting off with 3/4 of a cup of non-dairy milk. This happens to be cashew because it's one of our favorites. And now a very non-traditional wet ingredient, breadcrumbs.
We call them wet because I'm mixing it into the milk. It's a very traditional way of doing it.
Half a cup, 1 teaspoon soy sauce, and 1 teaspoon balsamic vinegar.
And then you want to mix that up too. I usually just let it soak for 30 seconds to a minute, get those breadcrumbs kind of moistened. Looks yummy, doesn't it? And now we introduce the wet to the dry. All of it. Make sure they get to know each other. And then we mix. You want this mixture to be moist, but not like sopping wet. You want them to be able to hold their shape and have some of the gluten formation, but still have some moistness in them. Actually, the breadcrumbs hold a lot of moisture, so that's part of why they're in there. But at some point, you know what you got to do. Got to just use the best tools you got. A couple of clean hands. I don't really need this a lot, but I do kind of make it come together. Get some of those gluten strands to form. It does kind of resemble a ground product that is used to make meatballs. Before you start making your meatballs, make sure you have a little bit of water handy, something cool. It keeps the heat off your fingers and lets it to not stick to you as easily. I also have here my bamboo steamer. If you don't have a bamboo steamer, any kind of steamer will work. Just don't pressure cook these because they come out very, very different. And please don't put these in an air fryer. They don't come out good. So what I want to do is just wet my fingers a little bit and pull off maybe almost a golf ball size piece. And I'm just going to massage it in my hand until it forms a round ball. This recipe will probably make 3 meatball subs, just so you know, because no one can eat just one. There we go. Ping pong ball size, maybe. I'm just going to finish making these and be back to show you what it looks like. Okay, I usually get about 10 meatballs out of this recipe, and I'm just going to stack up my bamboo steamer. By the way, if you don't have one of these, I highly suggest getting one. They make steaming so simple. I'm just going to take this and put it on top of a pot of boiling water for 40 minutes. While our meatballs are steaming, let's make some sauce. So for that, I have half of a medium onion, very small diced, going into a hot pan on my little portable cooktop here. I suggest doing this on your stove because it's probably going to be a lot easier.
Now, because Brian is cooking with the no oil method, we have set to the side reserve some water. You can also use a veggie broth, and that way you'll get some extra bunch of flavor.
Don't want anything to stick, so I'm trying to keep it moving a little bit. My pan was pretty hot already. I'm going to add the garlic in now. I'm going to cool that pan down just a touch with just a couple drops of water.
This is really important once you add the garlic because the garlic can burn and then it'll be bitter.
Yes. All right. Now I want to add in some tomato paste. Just a tablespoon or so. I like to use the tube ones because you can measure it out that way. Just treat it like toothpaste and go from the bottom up. Don't do like I did and just squeeze from the middle. Now the trick to this is you want to sort of rust it to the pan. My pan is still way too hot. See how it's starting to stick to the bottom of the pan just a little bit? That's what we want, because what that's doing is caramelizing the sugars in that tomato paste.
It'll give your tomato sauce such a wonderful depth that otherwise will be missing.
You just want to mix the tomato paste into your other veggies here. Did I mention it would be easier to do on a stove where you have more control? That's looking pretty good though. Then I have a can of, I'll show you in a sec, no salt added diced tomatoes. Now I like to use no salt added foods because that way I can control the salt in my food. You'll also notice I didn't use any oil for cooking this, so there's no extra added fat, no extra added salt in this sauce. I'm also going to add some fresh cracked black pepper. Maybe a little bit more. Derek likes fresh cracked black pepper. And time for some Italian seasonings. We have a little bit of thyme, just about a teaspoon or so, and some basil. Same amount, about a teaspoon. And now for something very Italian, but not necessarily traditional in sauce. A little bit of balsamic vinegar, just a teaspoon. What that does is it adds a meatiness and a richness to the sauce that it just feels like it's missing without it.
All the ingredients and cooking utensils will be listed in the description below, so that way you can get it if you can't find it locally.
Now, one other very non-Italian ingredient that I've started putting into some of my tomato sauces, soy sauce. Just a little bit, about a half a teaspoon or so. The soy sauce, combined with the balsamic, combined with tomatoes, makes for such a rich umami depth of flavor that it's awesome. And on a sandwich like this, where it's all meatball and sauce, well, as much flavor as you can get into both of those ingredients, that's the way to go. And I just want to keep it going, and I want to cook this down a little bit so that those tomatoes break up, and just let it simmer. One thing I wanted to mention is, as I'm cooking a sauce like this for a little longer time, I will sometimes add water to it. As you can see, I added a little bit of water here. What happens is it starts to cook it down, but it also helps to steam the rest of the vegetables, breaking down those tomatoes a little bit better, and it actually richens the flavor. Okay, our meatballs are cooking. Our sauce is simmering. But let's talk about bread for a moment, shall we? This is just a standard sub roll, nothing fancy. We got them at Publix. And I'm just going to cut it mostly in half, just kind of down the middle without cutting my hand open. And I want to open it up because got to make some room. These are nice big meatballs, but you don't want to cut all the way through. That's the trick. So just something like that. Okay, 40 minutes is up. Our meatballs are done. They do get a little bit flat from going into the steamer basket, but it's okay. I'm just going to throw a bunch of them in with the sauce because that's what you do. Even though it really isn't what you do, I'm going to just do that to get a little coating on them. Notice they got bigger. They're more like golf ball size now. All right, that's as many as I'm going to put in for now. The rest, I'm just going to put these in the fridge, but they can still go into sauce and be used in the same way. I just want to be able to reach through today, so we're only going to do a few. Get a little sauce on every meatball. And once they're mixed up a little bit, I just let them sit for about 2-3 minutes just to soak in some of those juices. If you want to let it go longer, you can. Just remember, seitan will expand even more and get more spongy the longer it stays heated. So, yeah, not the best idea to let it go too long. All right, I can't wait anymore. Time to put this sandwich together. I was wondering how many meatballs I'm going to be able to fit in here. I'm thinking maybe 4 tops. So let's just start. Now, because they have a flat bottom, it actually makes them a little bit easier to put in. I'm just going to put the flat bottom towards the side like that. Maybe a little sauce in the bottom of the bun, too.
You don't want to get it too saucy down there because you might have structural integrity problems.
Yeah. Want as many meatballs as you can get, though. It looks like this is going to be 3. Feel free to use a larger bun if you want to and get more sauce on there. We're putting a little on the top, too. Just 'cause. Got to make it look pretty, too. And last but not least is some of our shaky cheese, which is like a cashew parmesan stand-in, if you will. And don't do like I just did, but it's okay because I like it on the sauce and everything anyway. Now, we're going to go take some pictures of this and make some video, and we'll be back to show you how it tastes. Okay, now we have come to the best part of the show, where we get to eat what we just made. Now, I snuck one of these off camera.
He did, and he made yummy noises.
It was really good. I didn't sneak the sandwich, just a meatball. Yeah, just a meatball. So, all right, here we go. In the words of Adam Sandler in The Wedding Singer, that's a good meatball.
I love the combination of the meatball and the sauce.
Yep.
Because Brian made the sauce kind of on a rustic side, you still have some bite and crunch from the different vegetables. And so you know when you bite into a tomato, you know when you bite into an onion, And that really contrasts lovely with the meatball.
Now, the trick to a meatball sub is getting the right amount of sauce to meatball to bread. I think these rolls actually worked pretty well. They're a little thicker than I might like, but not too bad. Some people like to toast them. You can totally do that if you want to. But I want to talk about something. These meatballs are actually amazing. I've made them several times. We've used them in like spaghetti and meatballs, that kind of thing. They also refrigerate incredibly well. You just want to be very careful when you reheat that you don't cook them too long. They will get more spongy. But the breadcrumbs in it is what makes this work. It gives the proper texture, it holds the moisture, and you didn't need to add any extra oils or anything to get it to taste that way. It just works. So make this. This is just awesome, and you got enough meatballs to make a few of them. I mean, I used 3. Yeah, this would make like 3, maybe 4 sandwiches with the size rolls we have. If you have bigger rolls, it might be a little bit less.
You can also put those extra meatballs into a pasta later on.
Or freeze them, refrigerate them, whatever you need to do. But as always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Bistro.